I got a feeling that you got me covered too. I got you covered. I got you covered.
Hold on, everybody, for just a second for me. I'm here. I'm just doing something that's taking me a little longer than I had envisioned. All right, hold on a second. Get to that in a second. All right. Here I am. Should I say to save the day? Seems fitting. Welcome, everybody, to Mystery Topic Wednesday. I am sorry I'm late. Just had to switch the monitor. Somehow it got onto a place that said no signal, so I couldn't go on. So it took me a little bit longer than expected to actually come on, and I appreciate everybody for their patience. I think that for a little bit, we are going to change this to maybe 11:45, maybe do some at night. Hi, Sandy Wendy.
Get the Google app and supercharge your studies.
Sorry about that, guys. The reason I say that is because, and hi, Kristen, and hi, Ainfield. I appreciate everybody listening to this in the background. The reason why, and I'm going to work to get everybody, I'm going to figure out this in the next week and a half, how to get people's chats on the screen, because I know there has to be a way to do it through Streamlabs. But I think we're going to change this to 11:45. I have kind of taken a little bit of a breather from therapy. It was actually something that my therapist suggested that I did for a little bit, because I have been through so much. The thought of deep diving into any kind of emotional stuff right now is just way too, it's Floby time, guys, way too down. Hi, Anthony. How are you? Thank you for stopping on in. And thank you so much for being a member too as well. It does help the channel. It helps Mama and helps the content. So with that being said, I think we're going to change it to 11:45 because I don't need, that was the time roughly I'd had therapy, about 12 o'clock by phone. And I have just kind of put that on hold for a while, and she thinks it's a really good idea. This whole thing took a lot of energy out of me, and I'm slowly building back my energy, and the thought about trying to deep dive through stuff and trauma and all that kind of stuff, I just said, I can't do this right now. I've got to, excuse me, I've got to repair my body and get my energy level back. So we're probably going to change this for the foreseeable future till 11:45 on Wednesdays. And then maybe eventually we'll go to 9:45 again when I kind of get back in the swing of things. But Josh is going to continue his counseling. But I said I needed a break. And I think that's healthy. I think when you get to the point where you say, yes, I need a break. This takes a lot of energy out of me. I cannot do this right now. And, and if your therapist agrees, I think that is something that's very helpful. Now, you saw me before I came in kind of put up this strange logo for a second. And I'm going to...
I got a feeling that you got me covered too.
I'll have to do it again. Oh, whoops.
So proud!
Sorry. It went into the wrong screen. I'll have to add the source again. Hold on a second, guys. Before we get into what the wheel is going to tell us we're going to do today, we had this channel for a while, and it's kind of stayed dormant because we've been really focusing on getting this to grow, and we are still focused 100% on blessings, or blessed to crochet, absolutely. But on Blessings Through Connection, and I came up with this logo yesterday, which I love, and I sent it off to a couple people. They all liked it. So this is the new logo for Blessings Through Connection. The reason why, and listen, I'm not a green girl, I'm a purple girl, but the reason I chose green is because we all want to grow. It is important that we grow, and we help each other grow. And it's also a way of giving back to um, the community that we certainly have, people have just been amazing. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Alfonso, hi, my friend. Be careful, for sure, for me. I need you to be careful. We love you. So this channel, this is the logo for it. I just put it in the description if you haven't subscribed. We are going to start going on that channel. And I just want to explain this before we go any further so people understand. That channel is going to be a channel that we're not going live. We'll go live, excuse me. We're not doing videos on. I'm going to put more playlists on that channel because that's a channel where you can go and find playlists. And we can put different content creators on and so forth. Put up their playlist and explore it. Because most likely anybody that's going in to rewatch the content is not going to really watch that, the content. They may sit with it in the background and let the music play or whatever. There'll be little bits of myself kind of actually, maybe saying some things, throughout just to remind people how to connect. But you'll come in that channel. There'll be just a video thing just looping with music. And the purpose of that is connection. The purpose of that is you will be made a moderator. There will be some of my moderators here that will be made, to the purpose of everybody will be made a standard moderator, but there'll be some that have a little bit more leeway, like Sandy, that'll be made a little special moderator so that people that are coming in, she can make them a mod. If I miss them, people are going to come in and be made a moderator pretty quickly, and you go ahead and take your thumb or your mouse and click that name. It will take you right to their channel. Take that 3 minutes, and that's here too. Take the 3 minutes and go ahead and either find 3-minute worth of shorts, comment that something within in the short or the video, give a thumbs up, subscribe. That'll make sure your content will stick. And then go in and either find a 3-minute video. That's how you make those connections. We're not going to do drops of, people put in their hashtag and hashtag whatever, and they drop their link and they leave. This is a place for you guys to come together, make those connections, find the channels. It's our way of giving back and helping other people grow. And I think through that, we'll help ourselves grow, both on Blessed to Crochet and Blessing Through Connection. And the reason we chose the green is because it's all about growth. And what do you think about when you see green? Growth, right? And then, of course, you've got the tree, and you've got the tree with a heart, because it's all about making those connections. If you make those connections, you're going to find other amazing channels with amazing content and may find some lifelong friends along the way. And so that's why the heart's there. I absolutely love the logo. I'm going to send it over to Alfonso and let him spoofify it for the merch store. I absolutely love it because at the heart of it, it's all about the connection. And I kind of love the way it came out. Absolutely. You're also going to see on that channel shout outs starting to happen. And we tried to make them, pretty similar to Blessed to Crochet's connection. So there was a connection between Blessed to Crochet and Blessing Through Connection. So just be looking out for it. I'm running actually a video in the algorithm to make sure that what I picked as far as just a river in the background and so forth would not hit YouTube and say, oh, well, this is copyrighted. So anyway, that's a little bit of something, but you will see shout outs. What I kind of like is the fact that I did shout outs I did shout outs, and I can go into, I can't think this morning. The coffee needs to hit a little bit more. Um, I did the shout outs I do for Blessed to Crochet in Canva. I did the same thing, so I can sit there when I do the shout outs for Blessed to Crochet, and I can sit there and do the same shout outs for Blessing Through Connection. So I can do them both. So when you'll see it happening. 12 o'clock, there's a take a break on Blessed Through Crochet, and then at 12 o'clock over on Blessings Through Connection, the same shout outs happening, and it's called Let's Connect. So that gives the opportunity for whoever we give a shout out to have two different shout outs happening at the same time on two different channels. It's more exposure. And so if you haven't subscribed to Blessed to Crochet, we have nothing to do with crochet. I know. I've thought about changing the name, but I listen to Tuber Chat a lot. If you all haven't gone over to Tuber Chat, it's very helpful. At some point as we grow, it's really not going to matter that we have crochet in the name. I want people to understand, look past people's name, look at their channel, give them a look-see, subscribe, get in with their content, let them know, get to know them a little bit. Don't just, get first impressions and go from there. So that's the whole point of it. And we are Crocheting Connection. So we are crocheting, but you don't need a crochet hook here. That's for sure. So it is the 4th week of the month, and we always do our channel memberships. So let me do that before do it. And I may be running a test. We'll see somewhere in the next little bit. I may be running a test and seeing. Why can't I should be able to. I'd be running a test and making sure that I can. Oh, here we go. Making sure that whatever I put up from what I picked does not hit anything. So I may be doing a test later on that channel. We'll see. We will see. I've got devotions to record. I wasn't up to it. I think I went into a Raising Cane's coma yesterday. All right. Echo has a membership. Janice has a membership. Nancy Smith got a membership. Karen got a membership. And Crystal World got a membership. And just so people know, the reason why eventually we'll have to be branded, but when you become a branded channel, you no longer receive free memberships. You also no longer are able to give free memberships from Blessed to Crochet, and that's fine. But and if we do that when we become branded, I don't think we're there yet. But when we become branded, just know that those free memberships, those 10 memberships, will continue going, because we will still do that beyond that, because I really think it's important. We may even make it 20 a month or something like that, but that will continue past when we become branded. Channels that are not branded, they get 10 memberships a month through YouTube to give out, and that's why we're kind of holding off for as long as we can. But eventually, when we become branded, we will make sure that, of course, we continue doing that, at least 10 memberships a month, and that'll come directly from Blessed to Crochet. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet, but eventually we will be, right? We're growing. I'm not even looking at 1,800 or 19. I'm looking at 2,000 for this channel and for Mama and so forth, and for it to grow. So you can do a wheel through this Streamlabs. I tried to sit and figure it out one day, and I got frustrated and couldn't handle it. So no, the winner has not. So as soon as they do, I will look, and I will try to see if I can do anything. But if the winner for the Amazon gift card reached out, but the one that won it for Alfonso's thing did not. So as soon as I get that, Alfonso, I'll send it to you. I appreciate that. And if that person does not do that, then what we will do is we will, next time we have kind of like, hi Bambi, next time we kind of have a flowing chat, we'll just redraw it again, and somebody can certainly do it. So we'll do it next time I have Alfonso on. So anyway, I'm using my phone right now. Hi Ainfield. I'm using my phone right now because I have to figure out how to do this so we can figure out what topic. Now, hopefully next month, now that I kind of had Alfonso kind of give me the run through of how to do this, I'm going to get to the point where I can put things in the chat, and we can have people come on and discuss the topic. It won't be a time, we love when Alfonso comes on and play music, but on Mystery Topic Wednesday, it will be specifically talking, and we will choose a topic and go from there. So I'm hoping to start doing that maybe even next week, put a thing in the link, or if anybody wants to reach out to me and we can do that would like to participate in this, let me know. And I can also put a post up on Blessed to Crochet this week and see if anybody's interested in doing that. Now that I got an idea of how to do the way it is through StreamYard, which is just so much easier, but it is what it is right now. We'll get there. So let's see what the wheel has for today. The past couple of topics, I've kind of known about them. What is it going to come up with today? Raising teenagers. Well, I've done that. At least I've done it with one. I've done it with one. So the topic for today is raising teenagers. Hi, Life with Tanisha. How are you doing, hon? So the topic that came up on, isn't that funny? The Raising Cane's the other day. Y'all don't have Raising Cane's, go visit Raising Cane's. It's delicious. Anyway, I came home last night. I mean, I ate, just a little side note, I ate the box dinner, and I don't normally do it. It was 4 chicken tenders, the fries, the coleslaw, and the bread. And I don't normally have that much. And I must have been hungry and I needed it. And then I kind of got into a Raising Cane's coma, and I didn't want to do anything for the rest of the day. It was so good though. I'm excited that it's in the... Hello? You're recording? Yes, I'm live. Well, I'm live. I'm like, Josh, I'm live. Anyway, so it was delicious. So y'all have seen that video of the grand opening, and y'all have Raising Cane's, go check it out. We may do a Raising Cane's gift card sometime in the near future and give that away. I thought about that yesterday. I thought I probably should have gotten a gift card and done it and given it away, but who knows? We may do that in the near future. Of course, anybody that doesn't have Raising Cane's wouldn't be able to participate, but that's something to think about. Anyway, let's get on to the topic. Raising teenagers, that's the topic. So I'm going to do this from a little different spin. I can say I don't know what it is like, and normal is a frame of mind, I think, what it is like to raise a normal teenager. Because dealing with Christina, I only had the one. I didn't have any others. Dealing with Christina was a different thing because I was dealing with an autistic teenager. So my experience, and this is where I think the more people that want to participate in these topics would be helpful, because I'm coming from a perspective of raising an autistic special need teenager. And so somebody else that didn't have that would, thank you so much for listening, that didn't have that would be able to give other things that I can't give. Okay, I'll pay attention to that, Alfonso, that I can't give. And so I can say I had to do things that I normally wouldn't have done because I was dealing with having a teenager that was a little bit more, um, a little bit more, you know, on the spectrum. And, you know, she was on the spectrum. And I was dealing with having, you know, having that whole thing where I was dealing with going, okay, how do I handle this? One of the things that I think is pretty universal that I think people need to pay attention, especially in this world, is when it comes to social media and you have a teenager, you need to make sure, and this is what we did with Christina, because we kind of had to be her eyes and ears, and knowing that she was a little bit more naive, we had to be a little cautious. So when she got her phone, she got one of the flip phones. That was the first one she got. And it actually winded up in the washer about 3 months later. But she needed a phone. It was a flip phone. That's where she started. And she was probably about 13 or 14. And so she was at school. When school let out, she needed to contact us. Only numbers that were on that phone were people she knew. That was it. Only High New Horizons. That was the only thing that she had the ability to do. That was it. She could not connect with anybody else. And I would take that flip phone and I would check it and make sure nobody else. She had friends on there. I knew who they were. But when it comes to social media, when she got her iPhone, I said, okay, here's the thing. You can have social media. And she really hadn't had social media up to that point. I think she was like 14 years old, something like that, when she got her iPhone. You can have social media, but I will know every solitary profile you have and every solitary password you have for every social media account. I will set up your email address. I will know the password, and I'm going to be checking. So I would go into her Facebook Messenger. I would be going into her Instagram Messenger. And there was several times throughout her time that I needed to step in as a mom and say, this is not okay. And so I knew that. So, and my thing was to her was this: if you make profiles that I am not aware of, understand I'm going to find them, because mothers have those eyes everywhere, right? And you're going to lose the privilege of being on social media. I still had her flip phone. It was just changing the SIM cards. And I said, you'll go back to your flip phone quicker than you could say anything. So that was our rule. You're fine, but you better realize this is what's going to happen. And I think that we get to a point with our kids, especially, and I told this to Christina for many years, I am not here to be your friend yet. I'm here to be your mom. You may not always like me, but I am here to be your mom first. And I will be your friend later. Now she's married, she's working, she's living her own life, and I get to be her friend, and I have enjoyed that. And she truly is one of my best friends. And I get to be her friend now. I'm not anything of an authority figure over her. I don't have any authority over her. I can give her advice, but that's about it. Now be thinking about her if you're saying anything. She's having a little bit of she has to get her wisdom teeth all yanked, and she's going to do it all at once. And that's awesome. Yep. I will put his link in the chat, and New Horizons. And sorry guys, I mean my back's been acting up, and that was not fun, that pain that came through. so you guys can connect with him. But anyway, um, she's had a tooth that's acted up, and she needs to get all of her wisdom teeth pulled, and she's going to do it all at once. Of course, she's going to be asleep for that. But she can't get in until August. So last night she was really hurting, and it was a little swollen around there. And I just said to her lovingly last night when she called, I said, Christina, if you cannot get into an oral surgeon tomorrow, and you're still having the same discomfort, you better be on you better call your primary doctor or the dentist that you have and see if they would think that you need to be on a round of antibiotics, because you could have an abscess going on. And she said she's feeling much better today. So just keep her in your prayers, because hopefully that'll subside and so forth. But she has a doctor visit on Friday, so they can discuss that then. But I said, as a diabetic, if you're experiencing the same kind of issue, you've got to get on the phone tomorrow and see if they'll want to maybe call in a round of antibiotics for you, just to make sure to prevent anything from happening. If there may be something going on until you can get in to see an oral surgeon. I could give her that advice, but not necessarily is she going to take it. And she's feeling better today, thankfully. I had the wisdom teeth pulled, but always misbehaving. Finally, when I gave my fit for the last time, I decided to have it the rest of the others pulled, even though they never bothered me. I was 47. I have to get my 2 back ones done. Those have to happen, and I actually have to get some work done over here. And they won't work over here until they pull the 2 wisdom teeth. But when we moved, and then the wedding and all the Christina's wedding in 2022 and all that kind of stuff, I couldn't deal with it. And then I thought, this year I've got to get to a dentist and have them do everything. And I can't even begin to think about handling that till I kind of recover from the past 3 months. I said to my mom, there's no pain going on right now. There's nothing happening. I'm going to let everything kind of be and let my body settle down. And then hopefully in the next couple months I can consider going through that. The thought of going through that right now is not, I'm not able to handle that. So I'm not going to. But I have a tremendous fear of dentists. I had quite a traumatic experience when I was growing up, and my mother didn't even realize it. I was in the dentist office when I was probably about 6 or 7, somewhere around there, and I was having difficulty, and I wanted my mama. And I remember absolutely screaming my head off and crying, and the dentist would not allow her to come back there, and I was panicked, and it was horrible. Hi, foodies, how are you? It was a horrible, it was just horrible, and I don't think they realized exactly what they did within that. So I don't handle dentists well at all, and I have to go back to that and think that had an absolute thing on my life when they did that. They should have let my mom back there and help calm me down, and it would have been fine, and I don't think I would have had it, but it was quite traumatic. I think we forget sometimes how traumatic. And again, I'm putting blessings through connection. If you haven't connected with that channel, go ahead and connect. As we're going to start doing lives through that, so that it makes it easy for y'all to connect with each other over there. I won't ever do it in here and put like hashtag, for you to drop your link. I don't mind my mods dropping it after you've been in the chat and connected with people after a few minutes, but I want to make sure that connection happens. I had no pain, only issues with some nausea a few hours after the procedure. Pain was absent. 4 years ago, I had them pulled, and I could not celebrate. Oh, Catfish Day. I've had the top ones done, but they'll probably have to put me under for the bottom. I have to heal my body. I have to get my energy level back after 3 months of it being through a lot. And until then, Things are staying exactly how they are, and I will deal with that in a couple months when I've kind of recovered. Hopefully. Hopefully I've recovered. I'm getting back in the swing of things, and so that's what's going to have to happen. But anyway, kind of getting back to the topic, and if people are coming in, the topic for the wheel was raising teenagers. So this is again why I'd like to have more people come on and we do kind of a collaboration. We spin the wheel and we talk about it. Because, hi DA, how are you? That's awesome. Welcome on in. Is because I think having different points of view will help, because I'm only coming from raising an autistic child. So that's the teenager view I'm coming in from. But again, when it comes to the social media, I don't think that that's a bad rule to do for whether they're a special needs child or not. I do believe that we need to make sure to be careful with our kids in today's world because of the social media aspect. And, we get the kids where they sit there and they go, oh, well, you're spying on me or whatever. Oh, well, we want to protect you and make sure you're not getting yourself into trouble. There was one occasion, I'm not going to go into great detail, but there was one where would have been not a safe place for her to be in if I hadn't have gone in and checked messages. And I literally had to really make sure that what happened, if I needed to step in further, I would have. But I think we need to do that. We need to let them know, listen, you can do all the social media. Here it is. If you create an account, I must know all of the social media passwords. I must know your email passwords, and you go check them. That was one thing that we made sure of it. And we kept that flip phone. She knew that if she went outside of it, she was going right back to the flip phone. That was going to happen very quickly and without hesitation, because being on social media was a privilege. I will be praying for you for sure, New Horizons. I also, for those parents that are raising a special needs child, especially when they get into teenager mode, you now have a stronger individual that when their computer crashes, it can be really difficult, to say the least. And so we got, by the grace of God, we had somebody come in who took about a half an hour when Christina was 11 years old and said, this child isn't, she was diagnosed as bipolar for 6 years. This isn't bipolar behavior. You have an autistic child on your hand. Well, did that change everything. And I was so thankful for that, and so thankful for her, for her, she just was like, thank you, somebody. I mean, we had, hi, Encona Soul, how you doing? Long time no see. We had other people come in the home, and that happened to be one of the, people that, were just, they came in and they helped, and it was like, thank you for, coming in and helping us figure out this. So if you are a special needs parent, my biggest recommendation, one of them, is to make sure that the earlier intervention, the better. Also make sure that you have, if you can, especially as they get into the teenager world, have behavioral therapists come in the home. Have the behavioral therapist come in the home as early as possible, especially when they're teenagers, because they really help to, if you take a child to a therapist appointment or a behavioral therapist appointment, right? what is happening then is they're not really showing themselves in their own environment. When the behavioral therapist came in, Christina showed herself. She was in her comfortable environment. And they came in and they helped us understand Christina. Because we have to realize as parents, when we're dealing with children that are outside of the norm. We went to our church and they had like, it was wonderful, growing kids God's way, and it was wonderful. But a lot of the stuff they were talking about wasn't going to fit in the mold Christina was. And so we used some of the techniques, but we couldn't use all of the techniques. And you have to realize when you're dealing with a special needs child, you have to realize that oftentimes those tools are not in your toolbox. When my mother was raising me, all it took was a look. And I knew I was in deep trouble. We could look at Christina all day. It didn't make a difference. And the reason why is because they don't read social cues right. I could see my mother's eyes and her face, and I'm in deep trouble. Christina couldn't see that. Totally different. So we got behavioral therapy in the home to help us because we realized this is out of our toolbox. We don't have the tools to deal with this. This is out of our toolbox range. And then we had to realize that because we were dealing with a child with special needs, it wasn't as easy as calling a babysitter up and saying, can you come over and watch this child? A teenager from, usually by 11, 12, you don't need to have somebody 12, 13 years old. You don't really need somebody to come over and watch your kid. We needed somebody at 12, 13 years old to come in and watch her. She was diagnosed with diabetes at 13, so we couldn't really leave her by herself. It wasn't until she was 17, 18 where we could start doing that. But, and if she was home and I had to walk next door when we lived in Florida to my mom and dad's, that's different. But I mean, as far as going away for a couple hours, that just didn't happen. So there was free place within our area that had respite care, and it was totally 100% free. And I was thankful for it. So look for those kind of services so you can have respite care come in. They were adults. They knew how to deal with special needs individuals, and they could come in and help us so that we could, even if it was just, and 9 out of 10 times, I just look at them and say, I'm going to sleep. Because then, of course, you've got the sleeping issue with autistic individuals. I really didn't sleep through the night till Christina was in her teenage years. And we had Jordan. Jordan was a huge difference. That was her autistic service dog. I think we got to realize when we're dealing with kids and we're dealing with teenagers, we have to remind them, we are not here to be your friends. I think we want to be friends to our kids. We certainly want to make sure that there's lines of communication open. Hi, Weekends with Neil. How are you? There's communication. The topic on the mystery wheel today was raising teenagers. So I'm coming from a perspective. This is why I want to have more people on panel and as we continue with this, because I'm coming from a aspect of raising a special needs individual. So I'm coming from that perspective, realizing that I think we tend to want to be our friends' kid, or our friends to our kids. We want the line of communication open. We want them to come and talk to us about anything. But we're also not there to be their friends. I am now my mom's friend, and my daughter's my friend too as well. But that's different. We're in a different season of our lives. But we need to remind them, hey, guess what? We're not here to be your friend. We need to make sure, too, that we are very aware of our kids' friends. Especially, hi Hats on a Mission, how are you? Especially those that are teenagers. We got to make sure that, guess what? We know their friends. We know, their parents, we know them. There was a time when Christina, and I knew them, there was a time Christina was at the school she was attending, and one of the young men, one of her friends, young gentleman, nice gentleman, had his driver's license. And they weren't going very far. They were going like 10 minutes down the road to an ice cream shop, and then we were going to pick her up from the ice cream shop after he left school. He had a vehicle. And I made sure that not only I gave permission for that, but I called and talked with the mother to make sure that this was something that not only was she aware he was doing, but she was okay with it. And I had an opportunity to talk to her for a minute. And I said, that's fine, but I got to talk to his mom first. And she did that, and they had a wonderful time. It was her and this gentleman and another friend of hers, and it was fine. I think we got to be nosy parents, especially in today's world with our teenagers. We can't just if we're not involved with their lives and involved with their friends and know who their friends are. I remember, I don't know how old these kids were, but I remember Josh and I driving back to my house in, I can't remember if we were married. I don't think we were married yet. I think we were engaged. Anyway, we were driving. Thankfully, it was late at night. And it was like 11 o'clock, something like that. And there was this car acting really, really funny. And I should have called the authorities earlier than I did, but I didn't realize what was happening. And the music was playing and these kids were acting funny. And then as we got on to where we were turning to get into the place that I lived, it was a road to go in. One of the kids threw a bottle outside the window. And I'm like, we were already on the phone at that point with the authorities, because I'm like, they're swerving, they're acting really crazy, something's going on. And when they threw the beer bottle out of their thing, I should have, if I'd written down their license plate, I could have written down their license plate and given it to the cops. But I didn't do any of that. I mean, I was just like, thank God they didn't hit anybody. And they pulled in to the driveway, and we were kind of hanging around a little bit just to kind of see, because we were waiting for the police to show up. We're telling them exactly where they were. And, we waited, and of course, by the time the police officers got there, they were gone. And I hope to goodness gracious nobody got injured. But this is where we have to be very acute of what our kids are doing. I don't think there's anything wrong with going in and checking the drawers. I think, I need to have my privacy. Yes, they need to have their privacy. And yes, they need to be trusted. Absolutely 100%. That needs to be there. But there's nothing wrong if you think that there's something off to go check, because they're living underneath your home. And you are there to protect them and make sure that they're going to be okay. And I think we need to have their friends over and hanging out and being around and making sure that, they're good. We need to be knowing who their parents are. And, sometimes for teenagers, when maybe there's some difficulty happening within the home, it becomes a resource or a refuge for you to welcome them into your home, right? To be able to have them as a way of being able to, be able to have a refuge. I know my dad could be very difficult, and my teenager years were rough. They were really rough. And so I had a lady next door across the street. She had 2 boys, and I was so thankful that I got to know them. And she was like an older sister to me. I'm still friends with her today. She's like an older sister. And I would go over to her house. I probably made myself very well known. I don't think she realized, and I did tell her, a little bit ago, how much I did appreciate her, her, her friendship, because I could go over there when I come home from school, and I could go hang out with her sons. They were young, but I enjoyed it. And I could hang out with her, and sometimes I'd stay for dinner. And it was a reprieve from kind of dealing with the harshness of the day at school, because I was heavily bullied, or going home and didn't know where my dad was going to be. If he was going to be upset, if he was going to be cool. It was my reprieve. It was my breather. And then even the summer, and I go swimming in their pool, and it was absolutely wonderful. Um, and when I was, and even in the summer as I got older, she needed a babysitter for her kids, and so I would be, she hired me to be a babysitter for her kids, and so I just really think that I don't think we realize that maybe we have people that, we have people that, guys, I put blessing through mission, and that's not it. I'm realizing that. Like, wait a minute. Anyway, I think that we have to realize that you could have individual that I can't delete it. So it's blessing through connection, not mission. Oh boy, mine's not there. I think I need some more coffee here, y'all. Anyway, so we have to realize that we could have a group of people, or an individual that really needs our, okay, I can remove it that way, figure out that we could have an individual that we really need to have, we need to really have, they come over, and maybe they're going through a really difficult time, and maybe they're having difficulty in school, maybe their family situation isn't the greatest, and they're coming over and able to, connect with you, and you become a refuge. That house was a refuge for me. It was a breather from school. It was a breather from what was going on with my dad. It was a place where I could go have fun. I have wonderful, wonderful memories. I remember standing there. They moved, and I remember standing there. I was probably about 14, 15, somewhere in there. And I remember standing there with just tears running down my face, because my place was gone, that I could go and kind of get away. And I was going to miss them terribly. And so, hi, VMS, how are you? And so I was grateful for that. I was so thankful for that. So you could, if you're having someone that is a friend of your teenager kid, we're talking about raising teenagers. That's the topic that came on the mystery wheel today. You could have somebody that really needs to have your place, and you could get to know them. You never know how that can help an individual that maybe say, you know what, life at home is difficult. School life is hard, and they can be a refuge. So don't at all not look at that as a way of being able to be there as a place for them. Does anybody else have anything or advice that they would say about raising teenagers from, I hate to call it normal, because there's no normal. Normal is a frame of mind. Of anybody that could sit there and say, yeah, this is the advice I would give. because I've raised a teenager. I've raised a special needs teenager. It's a whole different planet. It doesn't seem like it, but there's so many other things to have to consider and think of that you normally wouldn't have to think of. But I think that if we don't realize with our teenager kids, we better be on top of things. And especially in this world today, especially with, if they're going out with somebody and they're dating. Here's another thing that happens. We need to make sure that especially for our girls, the young men that are taking out our daughters are making sure that that they're treating them well. We need to have the fathers involved. And here's just another side note. Realize, dads, your daughters, you are the first one that they fall in love with is you. You are so important into your child's life, especially for your daughters. What you and how you treat them is exactly what they're going to look for when they're older. You are a model for them. So we need to make sure that when we have young men coming, especially to date our teenager daughters, and I think honestly we need to do more group dating where there's a community of people for a while before we let these kids go out and start dating with the hormones running at full force, especially for the guys, right? But we need to make sure that when we have these young men coming, they're coming over, and the fathers are very much involved in meeting them and talking with them. And yes, I agree, fathers are very important. And talking with them, and even if you're not together with the person that you have the child with, listen, if they're coming over to pick up your daughter, get over to where they're going to be picking up your daughter. Put everything aside and be there, because you want to show that young man, that's my daughter, and you are going to treat her with the utmost respect. Christina was in her 20s when she found her husband that she's now married to, and they met on eHarmony. We were 3 hours away, and so we met in Washington Court, Ohio, and we met at a restaurant, and we sat and talked with him for about an hour. And then he asked the question, may I date your daughter? And the answer was yes. We had known him a little bit. They had been talking for quite a while before that happened. But he asked permission. And I was a grown woman with my daughter. And my husband went to my dad and said, may I date your daughter? So we need to make sure that, I think it's very important that for us, when it comes to dating the daughters with teenagers, we need to set ground rules. We need to make sure that we know where they're going. We need to make sure that they're, being respectful. Because if there is an opportunity, or if there's something, and they can come in and be the most wonderful, nicest thing, and then you've got very naive, not full of life yet, of young girls that don't realize, wait a minute, there's abuse going on, and I don't even realize what that looks like. And well, they say this to me, or they're not being very respectful of me, and then they come back and say, I'm sorry, and I forgive them, and this is the most wonderful guy underneath the planet, and then underneath it, you've got somebody that's not. You have got to be on top of their dating life and really, really get to know that young man. I think we need to have the fathers take the young man out for breakfast and really, really get to know them and make sure that they're being honest. We got to sit down, our mothers with our daughters, and sit down and say, listen, if there's anything ever that you feel is not correct, you've got to come talk to me, because this is not okay if they're doing this or if they're doing that. And I think too, for our sons, we got to do the same thing, mothers. We've got to show them how to treat a lady if you're taking them out. How do you treat them? This is what you do. This is not, so forth. We got to sit down with our sons and we got to talk with them. And here's the thing too, just as something. We have to realize, and I was going somewhere and it just went right out of my head. I'll remember it in a minute. Oh boy. But we have, I'll remember it because I was going someplace. I remembered it. We have to remember that we have to have those lines of communication open so that we can make sure that if there is something happening, we're aware. And here's another thing too. If you're friends with someone, if you're friends with your children's or your teenagers' friends, friend them on Facebook. I can tell you that was a life-saving moment. And my daughters talked about this. The only reason I would talk about it, otherwise I wouldn't. Life-saving thing. My daughter had just lost, she lost Jordan, which was her autism service dog. And understand the bond between a dog and a person is strong. But when you put it with a team and an autistic one and they're going pretty much everywhere, it's a whole different thing. So she was about 19 years old. No, she was 21. It was 2019. And she got very depressed in 2020. And of course, that's when things were happening with the C plus math and all that kind of stuff. And I was friends with several of the people that she had become friends with through the Facebook. And she had had several times where she didn't want to be here anymore. And there was one in particular, and the lady, the friend of hers, messaged me and said, "I'm really concerned about Christina. I think you need to go check on her right now." And she had lived in a downstairs. We had a 2-story house, and it was a walkout basement on the bottom. And I literally dropped everything I was doing, went downstairs, checked on her, and she was holding a pill bottle in her hands. And if she had taken that, I don't even want to imagine what could have happened. And so I literally took the bottle. I counted the pills. I knew exactly when it was filled. She took it every night, so I knew how many was in there. And then the bottle became in my possession for a couple weeks till I knew that things were over. Now, here's the other thing. She was very upset with a friend for a while. It didn't take very long, but she was upset. I'm never talking to that person again. How dare you? And the girl was, she was just upset. She goes, "I was trying to help." I said, "Listen, don't ever be upset. She's going to get over it, but you could have very well saved her life. Thank you. She'll thank you later." This girl was over in England, and she actually came over from England to attend Christina's wedding. They're tremendous friends. And so I said to her, "Realize that connection that happened through Messenger and the fact that I was connected, she was able to reach out to me and say, things are, difficult, and you need to go check on her." And so we need to make sure we got those open communications with friends, because something like that could very well happen. And that friend could come to you in confidence and say, "Listen, we go out with her and her, boyfriend, and we're seeing some things that are just not, he's not being respectful. He's kind of being a little bit abusive. And if that person can talk with you and you're friends with them, then you can be aware of something going on." So don't discount your children's friends. Get to know them. Get to connect with them on Messenger. Listen, we all have iPhones or some way, and their apps. Put a tracker on your kid's phone. I'm telling you, Christina, we had iPhones and we were all connected. I have one. Josh knows where I am. Of course, I'm here a lot, but I'm with him all the time. But still, put a tracker on their phone. I know that sounds like we're not trusting these kids, but it can be a life-saving thing. Don't be afraid of doing that. And so if you need to, put a tracker on their phone and say, "Okay, iPhones have an automatically know where you are. put it on their phone. It's important. And so if you have that open communication, I was so thankful for that. And when she came for Christina's wedding, I gave her a big hug and I said, you have no idea what that one message could have done. Because Christina didn't want to be here. She wanted to be with her dog. She was so sad. I mean, it was so hard to see her go through that. And she missed Jordan so much. And so we have got to be, I think that the biggest takeaway, and we'll finish up here in a minute, the biggest takeaway for raising teenagers is get involved with them. You cannot be a friend. You have to be a parent. Oh, here's the other thing I was going to say too. When I was talking about if you're not together with the other person and they're going on a date, get over to their house and meet the individual. Here's just one thing I'm going to say. When I got divorced from my ex-husband because it was not safe and it was an abusive situation, I literally said to myself, and I was angry. And it would have been very easy for me to sit there and criticize him out of anger to my daughter. And I made a pact with myself, because he wasn't really involved with her life. I made a pact with myself that I was not going to be critical of him at all, because she didn't deserve that. She was still a part of him. And so I was not going to do that at all. I was going to, be respectful. Now, I have told her age-appropriate truth, but as it's needed and as she's gotten older, because I wanted her to know everything, but I did not sit there saying, he's this, he's that, he's that. It was still a part of her. So if you are not with the other person that you have made a beautiful child with, if you need to vent really horrible things and horrible names, do it in the car when nobody is there. Go for a walk, sit there and talk to yourself. It doesn't matter who's listening. Do it outside of your children's availability of hearing that. Don't, don't be going to people that could go back to your children and say, your mom or dad said this about so and so. No, don't do that. And so that's why I said, if you have not had the most, wonderful breakup through it all, but find out how to co-parent and co-parent with respect and put the anger aside. If you need to, go to counseling, work through it, but don't sit there and really bash the other person in front of your child. It's going to come back to haunt you. It may not do it in the years of young years, but it will do it in the teenager years. And absolutely not worth it. It's not worth it to do for them. It's not worth it to do for your kid. And it's just not. So put those feelings aside and get over and say, listen, so-and-so, when they have somebody coming to pick them up, I want to be there. I want to be involved. I want to meet the young man or lady or whatever it is, because we've got to. And, even if you had to put a tracker on their phone and they didn't even know it, through the iPhone, that's fine. They, doesn't matter. Especially if you're paying the bill. I think we forget that our kids need to be reminded, guess what? We're paying the phone bill. We're paying for the internet. You're having a roof over your head. And I think we also need to get our teenagers involved in community service. We need to get them off of these things are wonderful, but we need to get them off of it and get them involved in community service and helping other people. Whether it's a homeless shelter, whether it's helping other kids and being mentors to younger kids, whether it is going to a senior home. I mean, those, especially the people that are dealing, that may not have anybody coming to visit them. Do you know what a visitor from a young person would do? They said that there was a group of kids that came from a school, and I can't remember whether it was once a month or once a week. I can't remember. And they said they would come and sit with these individuals and at the senior place and help them with their technology, help with their email, help with their text message, and all this for them to understand. And they said they were doing that for about a year. And they said what happened was these kids would help them with this, and then they would sit and really talk to the people after they got done helping them and build those relationships. It was amazing to see. Get them involved with that. There was another older, and she was a grandmother, and there was a group of kids that went to school, and they were eating at some kind of, I don't know, some kind of like, diner kind of thing for breakfast like once a month. And one of the kids sat there and said, my grandma can certainly do a much better job at this than my better job of this than this place. My grandmother cooks so much better than this. And so they did that, and they would go over, and the grandmother would have all these people, all these bunch of groups, and come over and be able to come over and it's probably my yarn coming in. Just got a phone call. I've been waiting for some yarn to finish a blanket. Anyway, they would come over to the grandmother's house, and she'd fix them breakfast. Well, it was about a year into this whole thing, and they would call it the Breakfast Club, right? It was about a year into this whole thing, and guess what happened? Her grandson was in, and it is, my yarn's in, yay! The grandson that started this whole thing was in a car accident and passed away. Here's what happened that was amazing. All those kids continued to come to the grandmother's house every week or every month and sit down and have breakfast with her. And they would all call her grandma. So she said, even though I lost my precious grandchild, she said, I forgot, there was maybe 10 or 15 kids. She said, I have 10 or 15 grandkids. And they call her grandma, and they come over and they give her a hug, and they all have breakfast. And she said, they're going to be my grandkids, even if they're not blood related. Those are the things that we can help our kids get involved with. Help them with maybe going around and finding like a park and having cleanup done or something like that. We got to get our kids involved in stuff like that. Get them off the phone. And if you can do it together with a parent and go do it, that's wonderful. Maybe if you're able to take some of the kids and go camping, what a wonderful thing to be able to go do. I mean, there's just so many things that we can do that really can foster relationships. We need to trust our teenagers. We need to show them the respect and show them that they're growing, but we have to realize in today's world, we better be careful. Yes, we totally agree. It's not that we don't trust our children. It's that we don't trust others. Vimas, that's exactly right. And we need to let them know that. It's not that we don't have trust in you, but it's because we don't trust others. And we have to be even more careful in today's world and be more aware. Listen, I think for even the young people, and then I'll get off here in a minute. I think for even the young kids, and I wish I'd had it, put the stairs aside. I think that having kids on a leash sometimes in crowded environments are the best thing that we can do. I remember Christina was probably about 2 or 3, and I was in a store that didn't have shopping carts, which I didn't understand that at all. It was Steinmart. I don't know why they didn't do it. And I remember holding her hand, looking at a dress, taking my hand away for a second, and I looked down and she's gone. That quick. And I'm in panic mode because I can't find my kid. I didn't see her anywhere around there. And I'm panicking. And it was the longest minute, one of the longest minutes in my parenting life. And she had found herself underneath a clothes rack across the aisle, hiding underneath the clothes rack. And I mean, I was just, and I picked her up and I said, don't ever do that to mommy again. And I just gave her a hug and I'm crying. And the lady said to me, she goes, well, you're okay. She's okay. And I said, yeah, she's okay. I'm not, you know? So, and especially if you have an autistic child, uh, think about, and they love dogs, think about looking into a service dog, because if I had known Christina was autistic at 4 or 5, there would have been an autism service dog in her life at that point. And what they can do too is tether the child to the dog, because a lot of children, especially autistic, will run, and that can be dangerous. So they can tether the child to the dog. That keeps them safe. That makes sure they're not going to run, and they actually stay calmer. So you know what? We got to protect our kids at all costs, no matter what. We got to protect our teenagers. It's not about not trusting them. We can trust them. It's about making sure that they realize it's the world that we can't necessarily always trust. Get to know your friends' kids. Have a relationship with your friends' kids. It could literally save their life. If they are dealing with a difficult situation, maybe your kid can't come and tell, but maybe your friends can come, and their friends can come and tell you privately, listen, there's this going on or that going on. They're really struggling. Maybe there's what cyberbullying is. Maybe they're willing to tell their friends this is happening and they don't quite know how to handle it. And they can get you involved. And if you open your home, maybe you'll have one of those kids like me that, you know what, that house was a refuge for me. It got me out of the environment I was in and gave me some, like I felt like I was in. I had a wonderful mom and I had a wonderful dad, but I had a dad with anger issues. And it gave me a sense of a family that seemed to have themselves together. Of course, when I wasn't there, who knows what was happening. But, you know, it was just a peaceful environment, and I was glad for that place to be. So, you know, be there. Be there when your kids start dating. Put some ground rules in. Meet the young man. Meet the lady that they're going to be, the girl that they're going to be taking out. Listen, we got to be on top. We cannot just sit there and say, oh, well, I'm your friend. Friends come later. Parents get to be friends later. They do not get to be parents or friends beforehand. And I wasn't really Christina's friend until, you know what? She walked up the aisle to say I do, and then walked back, because until she got married, she was living underneath our roof. I was handling her finances. I was taking care of her. I was looking out for her. I was her authority figure. Even though she was grown, she still needed help with all that. And until the time she said, I do, and she walked back down the aisle, now we were no longer her headship of protection. Her husband was. We were, hi Echo. We were no longer her, we were no longer her, we were no longer her main support. Her husband was. And so, that is exactly what happened. So we have got to be got to have open communication. Let them come to you with anything. And, you know, they need to realize consequences too. We can't always be there to kind of come by and just rescue them out of things. If their homework is due and they don't finish it, we don't need to be going and running to the teacher trying to get them a good grade. If they didn't finish it, guess what? They need to learn, you know what? You got to take responsibility for your actions. And if you had a project and you had 3 weeks to do it and you didn't do it, or you did not the greatest job because you rushed it, they need to take responsibility for that. If they've lied to you, and which Christina did, I think we all do as kids, especially in our teenage years, if they lie to you, they need to realize, listen, that's broken trust. It was like when I took that pill bottle away from Christina's possession, it took her a couple weeks till I could very well say, okay, I feel like you're out of the thing. Now, I do want to say, and I didn't say it when we were talking about it, I want to say now that was during the C plus math. So when I was trying to call for help, it was not easy to receive it. But thankfully, we were still in contact with her behavioral therapist. That one of them was actually her maid of honor at the wedding, and the other one couldn't make it. She was going to make it because of a conflict because they changed their date. But I had those two people in the mix for Christina to call and talk to. She had already built a relationship with these two ladies. She felt comfortable talking with them. I had her on the phone with her maid of honor, which I've had on this channel. If you go back and look to the behavioral therapist things we did with both of those ladies, I had her on the phone to evaluate her, and through even video chat, make sure she was in a good place, make sure I was doing everything I could do. So I didn't take the fact that she didn't want to be here anymore lightly. At that point, she had kind of brought that up 2 or 3 times, and this was the third incident, and I very much said the next time we're not fooling around, I will be calling somebody. But because we had all of that in line and those resources in place that I can lean on, that is the only reason why she didn't. Because if we hadn't had those resources in line, guess what would have happened? We would have gone right someplace automatically right after that with no hesitation. I had things in place and people in place and experts in place, behavioral therapists, people that she trusted, people that she relied on, people she knew, people who knew her, and so forth. And I could trust that they were giving me their opinion on, and Meredith talked to her personally and said, if you can't continue to do this, and if you do, you have to realize what you're going to be, what it's going to look like. And they were literally on the phone every solitary day doing check-ins. So I had all of the things in place to make sure she was safe, and she got better. Another thing we did is I was right on the phone with her psychiatrist. She was on, I think, 75 milligrams of her depression medicine, and I was on the phone very quickly with them because of everything, and they actually upped her depression medicine. That helped a huge help too as well. They changed it from 75 to 100 milligrams. So I was on the phone with them quickly. I was on the phone with through her insurance to get therapy set up. I mean, we were on top of it. So you can't, when somebody is even talking about that or doing anything, you've got to be on top of it. And absolutely 100%, I knew she had friends. I knew people were looking out for her, and I knew that I had a lot of support surrounding me, so that didn't need to do it. But if I hadn't had all that around, actions would have been taken to make sure that she had gone someplace, to be having that support she needed. But thankfully, and it would have been much more difficult because I tried with the C plus math that was going on. I had so many resources at my disposal, thankfully, that I was made sure that she was, safe. And I literally said, if I've got to stick by you like glue for the next week, I said, if I've got to, be in the bed sleeping with you and, being with you all the time, then that's exactly what we're going to do. And one thing that I did too was we couldn't really go out of the house much, but we got her out of the house and we would go on drives, and we couldn't really do too much, but we were going to, just even get in the car and just driving around and changing the environment. And even if it was just to get out of the house, but that certainly helped. But again, I want to very much stress that if you have somebody coming to you, especially a teenager coming to you saying, or even implicating any kind of wanting to leave this world, or you have friends coming to you and saying, listen, you got to go check on somebody, we're worried about them, you've got to take those so seriously, and we did every single time. It only happened a couple times. And we, of course, had so many resources at our disposal that we could access to make sure she was safe. And she said, that friend that let me know something was going on, boy, she said she is so grateful to that friend that let us know. And then I just remember walking in there, seeing that, and I took it away, and she just literally just fell apart. I don't think she would have taken the medication and done what I think she was, thinking of. But the fact that she was holding it, that's all it needed. And I just remember taking that, and she just literally it was like she just fell apart in my arms. And she was there for quite a while, and then we took action very quickly. So don't fool around with that kind of stuff, especially with teenagers. We got to realize that we can't fool around. And I think if I'm not mistaken, we had like a sleeper sofa upstairs, and she even said, "Mom, can I come and sleep on the sleeper sofa for the next couple of nights?" I said, "Absolutely." So she was even up there, and we took, hi Chair Bear, we took very significant action. So I just wanted to say that, and I forgot to say that when we were talking about that before. But we got to be on top of our teenagers. We got to be, guys. Absolutely. We got to know their friends. We got to know what's going on. We got to be on social media, knowing what their passwords are. We got to be connected with their friends on social media. We've got to be on top of them, especially in today's world. Things that I could do in my teenage years, I wouldn't have allowed my daughter to do, and she didn't. Things that my daughter did in her teenage years, I don't think my grandkids will be able to do one day when I have them, so forth. So we got to be careful. We got to be on top. We got to make sure that they are taken care of, and so forth and so on. And it's very, very important. So I'm hoping that next time we can start getting some people. If you're interested, I will put a post up this week. Anybody's interested in popping on up and participating in these chats, I think they're wonderful. But I think that if we have more people come on with can't think of it, with on panel and pick a topic and we all discuss it, I think it can be a wonderful thing. So don't forget too about our channel, Blessings Through Connection. Those that have come on in, I'm going to explain this, and then I'm going to hop off here so people understand what that is. So I'm just going to put blessings in the chat, or blessing. If you are not connected with that channel, please do. This is not just for content creators. This is the logo for Blessings Through Connection. Blessing Through Connection. I was able to do that actually last night. And so that channel is not going to be just a channel for those people that are content creators. We want to really make sure that it's there for everybody. And it's everybody to come in. The reason it's green is because for growth. And the reason for the tree is because of growth. The reason for it being green is because of growth. But of course we have the heart, and the heart of connection builds connection. It builds blessings for each other that helps growth. But also you can make lifelong friends through connections. So it's not only about letting the numbers, if you have a channel, and we all have channels through YouTube, Facebook's pages, YouTube calls it channels, we all have them. Some people have content on them, some people don't. It's not about growing the numbers as it is making the connection. That's the important thing to do. So what we're going to be doing shortly, I'm running a test to see if what I kind of put together is going to, any copyright stuff. We're going to do that. I'm going to make some recordings so you'll see me throughout that. There won't be any live. There'll be a live, but there won't be any person on there. And it just gives the opportunity for people to come on in, connect with each other, and we'll make them a moderator, a standard moderator very quickly. That way you can take your thumb or your mouse, depending on which one you're using, phone or computer, and you can go to that channel, connect. Now, the proper way to connect with the channel is go in, at least watch 3 of their 1-minute shorts, or at least, enough of 3 minutes worth of shorts. Comment, make a meaningful comment. One thing you can do is, put our channel's name, came over from so-and-so, and then, or either find a 3-minute video and connect that way. One of the 2 ways to be able to connect with a channel. That will hold your connection. That'll make sure when you hit that subscribe button, you're really connecting. And again, it's not about the numbers, it's about the connections you are making, the supporters you are making. We want to give back. That's also another channel you can go to, and we'll be growing the playlist. I don't think that it's going to be a necessary thing where people are going to sit and rewatch those again. That's not probably what that channel is going to do. So I can have different playlists of different channels on there for you guys to go check out. I will not do it on Blessed to Crochet. The only time we do that is when we are doing a collaboration, or when we're wanting you to watch stuff and subscribe and support those other channels. But majority, 99% of our playlists are all our content, because that way it comes to us for watch hours. But Blessing Through Connection has playlists and other channels you can go do. We'll add more playlists on that channel for those kind of things. But this is a channel for you guys to come in and connect with each other, make those connections. And you know what? Even if the person doesn't have any content, hit subscribe. You never know when they're going to say, wait a minute, I've got 200 subscribers. Maybe I'll start something. You never know. It could just trigger something like that. So we will start that shortly. I don't expect a ton of people to come in there. We're only sitting at, what are we sitting at with that channel? We're only sitting at 59 subscribers, so it's going to take a little while. But we'll just start doing it and sit and connect and get things rolling. It's been dormant channel for a while. And I also think it'll be a great place to also promote Blessings or Blessed to Crochet. But I love the logo. Again, if anybody's interested in taking Blessed to Crochet, I'm going to get them all confused. Blessed to Crochet's logo, and I love everything about it, but I want to make it more like this one that I just showed, a lot more circular, so it's a lot easier to put on merchandise. And I want to have Blessed to Crochet on the top, our heart that we use in the middle with the crochet hook and the representing a cross, and then underneath that have Blessed to Crochet Connection. But this kind of logo makes it so much easier to put on merchandise than when I have to go through to kind of do it with the other. So anybody wants to take our logo apart, and I can send it over to Alfonso and he can get it up to spec. So I'll have to do it with that one. But I love the logo. I'm not a green person, but that's why I kind of wore green today. I'm not a green person, but it's the only color I thought, if you don't use green, what is green? Growth. And so, and I sent it over to a couple people, and they really, really like the logo. Hopefully you do. I like it. If I sit long enough, I probably can work on the one for Blessed to Crochet and get it looking nice. After I did that one, I was pretty impressed with myself. I just have to sit and do it. Eventually, I'm going to have to get Canva Pro, because they've turned everything over to Canva Pro. And you can get some free stuff on there, but I'm going to have to eventually have Canva Pro put on there so I have more access to stuff. But that's down the road. As the channel grows, that's one thing that we'll have to do. We already do stock cake. That's a great thing to be able to do and have. If you're due, we pay $10 a month for that, but you'll see a lot of our thumbnails have a lot of their pictures in the back. So I am going to be working on devotions. I have all the way through until the 16th. I'm going to be working today. Like I said, we went Raising Cane's, and I had a Raising Cane's coma afterwards. It was so good. I didn't feel like doing anything. So I'm going to take a break, give my voice a break. Josh wants to have a shower. And then, and I got to cut his hair. That reminded me before he goes in the shower. And then I'm going to start recording and today and tomorrow, really record, and then I'm just going to spend the weekend editing. So you'll start to see a lot of the devotions up. The reason I've kind of held off on putting many devotions up is because if you haven't checked out the recipe for my grandmother's spaghetti sauce, there is a giveaway. As long as you are part of, as long as you are, I can't think, as long as you are are in the continental 48 states, and you're over 21, it's not YouTube affiliated, you can participate within the giveaway. And the spaghetti sauce is delicious. I don't think I can go back to regular spaghetti sauce after I had that one. It was really good. It came out really good. So if you hadn't checked out that video, go check it out. And it's in our intro. So we're going to take a moment, thank our members. It's never expected. It is appreciated. It's never expected. It is appreciated. First of all, we want to thank them. They do help with channel growth. For those that are able to be members, they do help with the channel growth. They do help us provide extra content to you all. Maybe eventually be able to help us with Canva Pro subscription. But they do help us with all that. And we are grateful. It's never expected. It is appreciated. And then at the very end of the video, of course, we get to see Elvis. I'm always up for that one. And then at the very end, it says thank you very much, because we want to thank everyone, whether they're a member or not, all the supporters of this channel for showing on up. We're so grateful for that, and thank you very much, Aimfield, and I will give you a shout out next week. Starting to get those shout outs done, so make sure you're checking both the community post on Blessing Through Connection and Blessed to Crochet's community post. You'll see, even though the shout outs are different, they're similar in the way they look, and I wanted them to be similar so that they kind of bounce off of each other. And then of course we have our saying about the disco balls, so we want you all to be amazing disco balls that you are. So give us a moment to dance and see Elvis.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yay! All right. So thank you all for joining us. Remember to be proud of being yourself. Everyone else is taken. Keep crocheting that connection. No crochet hook is required. And thank you for having us covered. We have you covered. And join us. I will set up some more of these. Join us for more. Again, it's going to be set for 11:45 versus 9:45 for our think about it, for our mystery wheel. And what I will start doing with the thumbnails is I will start finding the topic and changing the thumbnails so it says the actual thumbnail or actual topic. And you'll see us tomorrow. Hopefully we can go outside. It's sitting about, let's see, what's the temp, because everybody's kind of in a heat wave right now. It's about 87 degrees, but it's going to get, that's going to cool off a little bit. It was supposed to rain last night. It's not. So it looks like it's starting to cool down a little bit, so hopefully it won't rain, and we'll try to sit out tomorrow and sit with the rockin', connecting and crocheting, and just look out for Blessing Through Connection. I may try to go on there and see what it comes up with. I may not have it all together. That's okay. I'm going to try to put the green shirt on, try to record some stuff so it can be there to kind of understand how it's all going to work. But we'll get it going for sure, get you all connected, and that's the important part. of it. And so pay attention to that, and pay attention to devotions. Probably this weekend heading out, there'll be a lot uploaded, but that's okay. We're going to get back on track for sure with that. And thank you for joining us today. And if you're interested in participating at 11:45 a.m., that's the new time for a while, 11:45 a.m. Mystery Topic Wednesdays, and being part of the panel, please reach out to us. Our email is blessedtocrochet@yahoo.com. It is on our link tree, our email, and if you're interested in a shout out too, that email for shout outs is there too as well, and we'll take a look at your channel and certainly consider giving you a shout out. But if you want to participate in these Mystery Wednesdays, we spin the wheel. Don't know what topic, only the wheel knows what topic we're going to pick, and we can discuss it. I think it'll be great. So reach out to us, let us know you're interested in participating with that, and that'll be awesome. Alrighty, I'm going to head off here. I will see y'all tomorrow. I'll set it up through, I figured out how to do it through the YouTube, so I can set it up. And I'll probably be about 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow night, somewhere around there. And get off here, go cut Josh's hair, let him have a shower, relax the voice for a little bit, and then start recording and get caught up with the devotions. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you for joining us. Remember, have a great, blessed day wherever you're seeing this, and we will talk to you later. And bye-bye for now.
So proud